to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning in studio, and we're staying on the topic of crime. This morning, our next guest is Mr. Phillip, and he is speaking about crime from facilitation to prevention. A very, very important and interesting topic this morning as we get into that conversation. Good morning, Mr. Phillip, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Morning to Tobago Updates, morning to Tobago, morning to Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension for those listening throughout the world on the World Wide Web, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are. Good morning.
Of course, and of course you are a concerned citizen of Trinidad and Tobago as it relates to crime. In fact, I think we all are and we all should be. This morning you want to talk about, your topic is facilitation to prevent, from facilitation to prevention. So first of all, before we get into what that means, can we just get an overview as to what are some of the things that are concerning to you that, made you or brought you to the place where, I need to have this type of conversation?
Well, I think the position I am in, every conscious citizen in Trinidad and Tobago should be in the same position, because the crime rate is too much to mention at this point, and something has to be done. Something has to be done, and done quickly. So that brought me to where I am here now.
Right. And so you're talking about from facilitation. Facilitation of what and prevention of what? Is it crime we're talking about? Is it what exactly are you talking about, and how do you see crime being facilitated at this point in time?
Well, you're taking a little bit out of the what I have on the paper here, but what happens is that when a person commits a crime, that person is being arrested by the police. And from when the arrest is made, the person is taken, perhaps if he's on the street, into a police vehicle, taken to the station. They might be processed. After a couple of days, they get bail. After going to court, going to a court that is already clogged with cases, they go to that place, and the case drags on for a long time because there are lots of cases at the court. And the person is either sent to prison or set free if they are successful in their matter. And the cycle continues. You send them to prison, and then in prison, you maintain them. I learn at a cost about 25 to 30,000 a month, and the cycle continues like a solo. You commit the crime, the police pick you up, take you to the station, they process you, they carry you to court, you go to prison, or you may be set free or go to prison. And and that is a solo, like a poetry. Right? So I want to talk a bit about how this crime develops in this country, and some of the facilitation processes, and how this can be prevented.
Okay.
Right?
So let's get into to the actual,
Right. So illiteracy is the first step that leads to behavior, or irresponsible sexual behavior, I must say. Illiteracy. And there is no plan that can overcome the cost of individual irresponsibilities. Our irresponsible sexual behavior leads us to the nursery rhyme, which says, there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she did not know what to do. So she gave them some broth without any bread, and whipped them soundly, and sent them to bed. What is important in that nursery rhyme, which was, I think, first printed somewhere about 1794, the woman has no name, and the children has no number, except to say, so many, which means too many. The woman in that nursery rhyme points to all of us. It's a parable. In that nursery rhyme, there seems to be no father present, no food, plenty licks, no love, no training, no parental guidance, and from mother to children, it seems it was unending frustration. Some of these children will end up in the schools, some in the streets, but nearly all of them will end up in trouble with the police. As they go out in the community to seek on their own, they rob, they steal, they kill. And here begins the cycle of facilitation. which I'll explain a little more later. There are tens of thousands of this example throughout Trinidad and Tobago. So the example of the woman having a lot of children, no father in place, no responsibility in place, no parental responsibility. Trinidad and Tobago is littered with that woman, the behavior of that woman. And that woman represents all of us. And this is like a system producing more criminals than the police can deal with.
So you're saying that based on what you've read so far, what you've said so far, you're talking about a home that does not have two parents. So it's like a woman bringing up children on her own, primarily leading to the increase in crime?
Well, not necessarily. Doesn't have two parents. You have two parents in homes where they're not being responsible. They don't take time to train their children and so on. And this is what is the foundation of our national tragedy.
Mm-hmm. So it starts in the home in terms of parents.
It starts in the home. It starts with our irresponsible sexual behavior. We must correct our irresponsible sexual behavior. A man can say, I have a child in Charlottesville, I have one in Beetham, I have one in Mason Hall, and I have two in Mount Pleasant, and I can walk around and show like a macho man. Mm-hmm. But when that child comes home from school, and there need to be a father input into that situation, he's not present. And so these children are left on their own. Some of them torment other children in school, mm-hmm. and some of them, they are caught up with the police at an early age. Let me just continue here. If you go to many of our schools, the next generation of gangsters are before your very eyes. In our schools, we're supposed to be a place of learning, education. The next generation of gangsters are before our very eyes. And not so long, we had on the TV a young man in a Combie uniform. It is alleged, and let me say alleged, he may be involved with a gang. And that, if I heard correctly, he was well known to the police. All this is happening with the parents of these children totally disconnect from their parental responsibilities. They are left to be adopted by the gangs, the drug dealers, and other groups.
So let me just interject, right? Especially the last part where you said the parents are disconnected and the children are left alone to be influenced by the outside world.
By the outside world, yeah.
What are some of the causes, in your opinion, that that causes the parent to be disconnected from the child and not knowing what is happening with the child and allowing external influences to come in?
Well, it was mentioned earlier. So many children mean you have too much children that you can handle, and there is no number to it. So that
what about situations where there's just one child in the home? Can you still put that same principle to the situation? Because what you're saying is that this woman has too many children, so she can't manage them. That's what you're saying. Mm-hmm. What about the instance where there's only one child in the home? Is it the same situation?
Too many does not come with number. Too many comes with what you cannot manage. So a person having 10 children does not mean that they have too much children. You could have one and you have too much because you are not training that child. The amount of delinquent children you have here and the parent only have one child. I know a number of them.
Is there an institution where parents learn how to parent a child?
Well, we get into that. You're taking away this.
Well, we have to get into the conversation.
Yes,
because
well, listen
we have
carefully.
to get down into the conversation.
This is what the government should be doing. They should institute programs that will get into people's homes to have a discussion with them. And you cannot say this cannot happen because very soon you will see groups of people dressed in all colored jerseys representing all different political parties going to homes and telling them to vote for them. I was in Cocorit in 1976, in the 70s, and I was there. And Cocorit, I'm not being political here, but I'm just sharing my experience, is a PNM stronghold. I was by my sister. She almost put me out.
Right.
But hold on just now. And when people went to the homes, you hear people hit their hat on the ground and say, they will vote for this party until I die. This means that the people are convincible. We need to get to them.
Right. So you spoke so far about the facilitation part of it, right? Saying that you started off by saying when somebody's arrested, they go through the system, they come back out, they come out on bail, they wait for a long period before they are charged, before they go before the magistrate. Now let's get into the prevention part of it. Let's talk about the prevention aspect of it, so that we can understand the difference between facilitation and prevention. So we can get we have to get into it now. We have to get into the prevention part.
Are we running out of time?
So we have to get into the prevention part of the conversation.
There's much here, there's much here.
We'd have to plan another time where there's so much more time we can talk about this. But let's get into the actual, because we understand now what you mean by facilitation. We're talking about the system, right? That allows for, it's not really as robust as you, in your opinion. Right. So let's talk now about prevention.
Let me make this last point. So in this entity provides a stream of new lawbreakers into the criminal world. And these new lawbreakers here that come into the criminal world are more than the police can handle. So the police is always in arrears and will always be in arrears because the criminals are too much. So when you hear the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police says that, well, we are going to confront the criminals and we are going to take the fight to them, that is equivalent to Monday night mass. I was born in the middle of the night, and before dawn, I killed 1,000 men and walk away. Rubber talk. It's like you're rowing a boat 2 miles up a stream that is going down 10 miles per hour, and you are rowing 2 miles up a stream and say that you will reach the top of the stream. But let me get to what you want me to get to, the point, if you're ready. Let me talk about prevention, because you probably want to get into that quickly.
Definitely.
Prevention. Long before a child is conceived, there should be a plan in place by the parents for the care and future of that child. Therefore, pregnancy should never be by carelessness. The plan must include health care and education, and where there is no plan and there is conception, there must be a plan. If the child is to become a success, the burden of parenthood cannot be avoided nor neglected. Parental guidance forms the foundation of the child's future, and it is important that every parent approach this role with commitment and with seriousness and responsibility. Let me just jump forward into something here. So, even apart from crime, a lot of matters in the domain could be corrected long before they become, too bad. For example, you may have a hospital where there is carelessness by doctors or a doctor. Somebody sues the hospital and the doctor may amputate a wrong leg, and they say, you sue them and you get your $500,000 but the problem is not solved. This problem has to be solved by how you train your children. So you give your son 5 years old or 6 years old the car to wash. You know he cannot wash the car properly, but you monitor him. And when the car is completed washing, you say, did you put in back the spare tire? No. Did you put in back the spanner? No. And you make sure that he does these things. Because what is going to happen, he might become a doctor in the hospital. He's bright, but he's careless. And in that respect, he may tag the wrong leg for amputation, and that these are some of the things that we do in preventing crime. I'm so flustered by the time you say that the time is out. Another concern again too, because of the stream of activities of criminal behavior coming into the system. You have a system with all these women producing all these children who have produced them, because it started many years ago. So Trinidad is littered with these children, making havoc all about the place. And so every criminal you arrest, the stream puts another 300 into the system. This is overwhelming to the police.
But we want to talk about the prevention part. You started talking about prevention, but you come back to that. So what I want to get to, because what is important to all of us is the prevention. How do we prevent it from happening? Because instead of arresting people, let us create a society where
that prevents.
Correct.
Because you spend, but let me go here to this one. you spend $30,000 to maintain a prisoner, maybe between 20 and 30. Let's put 25 for a general stopper. So you spend $25,000 in maintain a prisoner in the jail. But you can't find $6,000 a month to employ him. So we see there an ignorance to finance and public expenditure. If a lot of this money is spent on the other side of these people, in prevention, you will have less crime in this country. You know, this thing could be fixed, but there must be a program in place to deal with crime prevention. For example, you have your child is at home and he comes to you and tells you, well, Mommy, I have seen Mr. Harry's pump city or Mr. Johnson pump city. I peep into his yard and see his pump city. You look into Mr. and he hasn't given me any I've asked him. And then some of the parents will say, Mr. Johnson is a wicked man. When you tell your child that Mr. Johnson is a wicked man for not giving him the pump city, you have completed the first step of your child being a thief and half a step for him to be a murderer.
I understand that. And, you know, I agree with you in terms of when you said programs need to be put in place. And I believe as if agencies are implementing programs.
They're too slow with the program.
There might be, but remember, things take time. Right, it takes time, but once you make that step in the right direction and you consistently continue, then it can be done. The prevention of crime, in my opinion, I could be wrong because I'm not an expert here, but prevention of crime will not be an automatic situation. We will not wake up tomorrow and realize, oh goodness, there's no crime in Tobago. Praise the Lord. That is not how it happens. So there's a process. So the programs you're talking about, that's welcome. It definitely is a welcomed idea, and we will, you know, continue to campaign for corporate Tobago. We will campaign for all, you know, collaborations of different agencies to come forward and provide programs to attract young people, to keep them off the streets, to provide that measure of support to parents and communities where we have children who might be troubled, who might come from a home where there's only a mother or a person.
Teachers, and they need special teachers.
Those are the things I'm sure are part of conversations in public spaces. So that type of, you know, types of programs can be built out to aid in the prevention of crime as we move forward. Unfortunately, Mr. Phillip,
I just want to make this allow me to make this last point. Thank you.
Sure.
If we do not have to wait on a government program, a parent in a house with children do not have to wait on a government program to start training their children. We listened on the TV some months ago, and a young girl, a daughter, was calling her mother, so-and-so, obscene language, come and see her deal with this teacher. So let me make this last point. I don't want you to tell me don't come. So let me make this last point. If nothing is done hurriedly and aggressively to address this crime problem, you know what will happen? We will need to have a police officer by every citizen to make sure they don't break the law. And it will advance into where we will need a police officer to stand up by every police officer to make sure the police don't break the law, because the police comes from the same society. Some of the women, children are in the police service. And if we don't do that, this country will continue to head in a direction of collapse mode.
Well,
thank you very much.
Mr. Phillip, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I do hope that we do not end up in that situation. I am more hopeful right now, and I do believe that things are being put in place. I do believe that agencies are coming together. I believe all the stakeholders have realized that we are possibly in a crisis and that things are being implemented. Might not be at your pace. It might not be at your pace, but things are happening. Ladies and gentlemen.
It's nice to think so, you know, but when the children of Israel are praying to the Lord, Isaiah told them, you're wasting your, and the Lord can't hear you because you're wasting your time. You're doing all the things you shouldn't do, and you're going to prayers for help. Prayers and day of marching will not help us in this country here.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Phillip. We've been speaking with Mr. Caleb Phillip, a concerned citizen as it relates to crime here in Trinidad and Tobago, speaking about from facilitation to prevention. We do have to go for a short break before we continue conversations in studio this morning. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.